Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lindsay, the housewife historian, and today we're talking the Real Housewives of New Jersey. We're going to be talking about Juicy Joe, the feds, a lot about the rumors that are going around online, and a lot of accounts still getting, waking up to being and demonetized. Lots and lots of people coming out saying that their accounts are being reported habitually, and we know that I don't want to say the word, but the farms that these ladies use sometimes in the franchises to have people online, the dot farms, if you will, that we talk about. This is a great example of how housewives can utilize something like that and do it quickly and make a mass report on somebody's account over and over and over and over and over. So when people say, like, I don't understand what these farms are about, or why are they there, just to be followers or just to show support, they are doing all of that. They're showing support for the housewife. They're going in the comments and they will they're almost like AIs basically. And so they will fight with people in the comments. They are there to help whatever the housewife is hiring them for. So if they want to go after accounts and report them back to back to back to back to back to back so that there's no chance, then that's what they do. And that's what happens with these farms. We've seen it happen with other accounts. We the love Gabriella account, it just continued to get like reported back to back to back to back to back. And that's what they said. It was just reported so many times. They have to take it down and do an investigation. And it's not like Instagram is, stocked with employees ready to do investigation on Bravo accounts. Like, for my experience, it didn't feel like it was very high on the totem pole for the people working at Instagram. That was just my experience. But before we get into everything, guys, make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, turn your notifications on, just so you know all the juicy tea is always going to come through my YouTube channel first, and then I take it to my other platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We've had a lot going on this week after the Real Housewives of New Jersey season 13, part 3 of the reunion aired. I went on Martinis with Eddie live after the third part aired, and then Jennifer Aiden went on Martinis with Eddie, I think Wednesday or Thursday, and did a great interview. So if you guys don't know about him, go check him out. He's on all major platforms. He's on YouTube, Instagram, and he has his own podcast. So he's really funny. I like him a lot. And he's friends with the real Andy BH. We just talked about him last week and how he woke up to his account being, you know, D. And so he's getting backlash. And I didn't know they were friends. And I mentioned the real Andy BH, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's my friend. So that was kind of cute. But David Yontov is also dropping, he dropped the second part of the interview with Juicy Joe on Behind the Velvet Rope. And then he had his, I think he does, I don't know how many times a week he does his podcast with Sarah Fraser. I really like her. She's funny. I like her. And they talk about the Gorgas, right? And then it's Saturday, so you know that Kim D and him are going to be dropping all of their tea about the Gorgas because it's the weekend, it's Saturday, and he's going to tease us with it. He's going to drop a couple like here, a couple there. But David definitely had a message for Melissa, and he was like, "Let me calm down. Let me calm down." I was like, "Oh, he's mad at her." It was a great episode, so if you guys didn't have a chance, go back and listen to it. I would love to repost it on Instagram. However, I'm scared that I would get a check mark or a violation if I posted something with like a little bit of profanity in it. So I'm sure it's going to make its way back to Melissa. If it hasn't already, we know that she allegedly subscribes to his Patreon. And that was another thing him and Sarah Fraser discussed. And I was glad that they cleared that up because people were saying, what is this? What does this mean? Like, how do we know that that's really her account? Well, with the Patreon, you have to use a credit card. So the names usually have to match because of the credit card. Just saying. Also hearing that Vanessa Louis' ex just recently did an interview. Was she on Danish channel? I cannot remember, to be honest with you. I know there's a feud going on over there. I'm not a part of it, so don't anyone get mad at me. Don't kill the messenger. It's something to do with the private investigator that was allegedly hired, that was allegedly in Vanessa's office asking questions about Louis. And allegedly, this person that worked for Bo Deal, who was a private investigator who was set up to go have sessions with Louis' ex to get information from her, was allegedly a, I don't want to call her a blogger, but she does what we all do. She's a content creator here on Instagram, and allegedly they're best friends. And so she knew that this was transpiring allegedly. And there's something about, I don't know how the friend can release this information, because I would think there would be an NDA for some, if you do any sort of PI work. I'm not sure if even if there's a client privilege attached to that. Um so that does stand out a little bit to me, a little red flaggish to me. And allegedly there was a conversation between the woman PI and Louis, and Louis tells her to get a hold of this other account, because that account's going to be um working with them. I don't know with them, but whatever the case may be. So a lot going on there. Didn't really make a whole lot of sense, to be honest. I don't know how you could be a PI. I feel like you would have to sign an NDA. I'm just saying, don't you think? Anyway, guys, I don't know what's gonna happen with that, because I think there'll be like World War III on Instagram. No lie, seriously, I'm a little bit concerned at this point. Also, we have the Real Housewives of Orange County that's going to be coming out. We know there was beef between Tamara and Teresa, but obviously all of that was after they filmed this season, because we're really late coming into this season of Orange County. Where's Taylor? I'm not sure. Did they have to go edit her out of everything? I think that's a really good possibility. One other thing I wanted to tell you just came back to me. Allegedly, Carlos King just did an interview with someone, and they were not talking great about Louis Borellis. And here the woman turned out to be some sort of employee or friend of the ex-girlfriend Vanessa. Have you guys heard that yet? It just came out. I just saw it dropped on All About. Is it all RHONJ facts? I think that's what it is. Go check that out. Um, yes, I'm pretty sure I just saw that. I'm not sure how they're affiliated, but they are definitely affiliated. And that's going to be Vanessa, Louis' ex, the one that has all the like temporary restraining orders and such that we've talked about before, about when they lived together and the money thing and helping her get her certification. So allegedly this girl went on Carlos King and spoke poorly about Louis, and she is tied to Louis' ex Vanessa, which is a little bit strange or very messy of Carlos King, one or the other. See, this is what I'm trying to explain to you guys sometimes when I say we don't give production enough credit for being shit stirrers. And I don't even mean credit in a good way, I mean credit in a bad way. Like, we look at Kathy Wakili and all of them like being shitty people for doing all these auditions and all this stuff with Bravo, and never once telling Teresa what was going on. But with that being said, Bravo was also telling them not to tell Teresa, and Bravo was basically setting Teresa up as well. You see what I'm saying? Like, the Bravo is more the bad guy than anybody out of all of this, okay? So is Carlos King, excuse me, being messy here? The only reason I think he could be is because a lot of people are calling on Andy Cohen. There's a lot of outrage. that pertains to Andy Cohen and how he handled the reunion and how he acted, whether he apologized or not, and just the scaling of what it's like to have a boss that's bringing women on the cast to take you down all the time. Like, it kind of, in my opinion, it's probably a lot like the Ellen DeGenerate. I can't even say her last name anymore. Remember how everyone thought Ellen was so amazing and she was giving out money on her show? I'm guilty of it too. I thought Ellen was like this good, like wanted to help people, wanted to give money away. I really thought that she was a good person. I definitely have a completely different opinion of her. But if you guys remember, before she was sort of canceled, what started it was employees coming out talking about how toxic the work environment was and how she would turn her employees on each other, right? And that she would like only have one employee that was good enough to speak to her throughout the day or whatever the case may be. um and then the next day she would be mad at them, not speak to them. And so it was a really, really, really toxic environment. And I'm gonna bet that in 10 years, when we actually get like a tell all from one of the women besides Nene Leakes is ahead of her time, guys. Nene Leakes is like an Anna from the Real Housewives of Miami. She was ahead of her time. When she writes a tell all in 10 years and her NDA is up or whatever the case may be, or one of these other OGs uh finally, hits their 60s or 70s or even up and close to 80 and says, okay, I know that I have no more chance of going on the Real Housewives for anything, even Ultimate Girls Trip, I'll write a tell all and it'll, and I'm really going to tell it all. I mean, we have to wait patiently for that, but one day it will come. And I bet you that we're going to find out that it is a very toxic environment between those women and Andy Cohen and producers and then playing off of each other. I mean, producers, we've seen them. We know that there's been it's a general consensus among the Real Housewives. They'll say like, if they have a dinner set up, they have an idea of what they want to go down at this dinner, based on whatever happened the last time they filmed. Okay, but they're not going to waste their time, money, filming food, drinks, cars, yada yada yada, for you just to like have a good time and be on your way. If something doesn't happen, you sit. Sometimes they're like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hour events, until even Kyle Richards has said, like, until you finally look at them and you're like, what do you want me to say? Like, I'll just say it at this point. Okay. What do you want me to say? Um, so we have to remember producers are in the mix. We've heard of producers texting Lisa Vanderpump right on the set, while they're filming to shake things up because it was boring, right? So that's what they mean when we say Kyle Richards allegedly is a silent producer, because maybe they do that, what they used to do with Lisa Vanderpump, they now do with Kyle. Move it along. Let's keep it rolling. Yada yada yada. Make sure you ask this. We know that the housewives get notes before every scene. At least they used to. I don't want to say scene, but kind of scene. And it's also well known amongst them that the production tells everyone when to show up. So it doesn't really make sense when Margaret goes on to her confessional or the after show and she said, and Louis and Teresa they showed up late. Like, they were so suspicious. They were so late. They got there when production told them to get there. A lot of times, if the scene is going to have to do with you, you're not going to get any notes. Everyone else gets notes on what they want kind of their role to be, or questions to ask, or whatever it is. There's a little bit of that going on. How do we know that for sure? Well, we know that for sure from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. If you remember, was a scene between Cynthia Bailey and her husband Peter Thomas, now ex-husband Peter Thomas, and Nene and her husband. And Nene and Peter Thomas get into it, and Peter Thomas is Jamaican, and he and her, and she's, I forget what she calls him, I think, and it all hell breaks loose. And then we see like a text message exchange from them later on, like whenever they end up calming down and apologizing to one another. I think that we see like a thread that gets leaked that says, Nene texted like, I don't feel comfortable calling Peter. I don't know if I feel comfortable calling him that. And I don't know if production was like, well, too bad. We don't give an F. That's how it goes. Or if she just wanted to be pleasing. She was the OG. She kept things moving. And so she went along with it. So sometimes it could be scripted. But you know what? I mean, even if they're scripting anything nowadays, your writers suck because you know, New Jersey ratings have been, of course, through the roof, right? That's why I think that it's very possible that New Jersey is not going to want to change any of the women. They don't want to lose the Gorga fans. They believe, or the Gorgas are convincing Bravo right now, guys. Right now, the Gorgas and Margaret is convincing Bravo how badly Bravo needs them. They are on their hands and knees, but also aggressively pointing out everything they've ever done for the franchise because they're trying to show their importance in the machine that's getting the numbers, and that's what Bravo cares about. They are disregarding the fact that I think that because there was the rumors about Louis and Teresa, I don't was it a publicist, but we know about all like the bot farms, and then if they're reading the comments and their bot farm comments, obviously it's not going to be a correct um account of like what people are thinking and feeling about the Gorgas, right? But I don't know. I just think that they think that there's a lot of Gorga fans out there and that they want to keep them. Like they're going to lose them altogether, right? Like if they, it's the pressure is so tense between Teresa and Melissa that the fan base is like, if you get rid of Teresa, I'm never watching again. And Melissa's military's like, if you don't put Melissa back on, we're never watching her again. David Yontef said she's never, ever, ever coming back to the Real Housewives in New Jersey. He said it doesn't mean that she won't do new housewives or housewives events, or go on like Watch What Happens Live or the Clubhouse and like promote whatever product she might be, but she's never ever, what he's hearing, and he's swearing by this, standing by this, not a rumor, not how he feels. He's saying she's never, ever, ever, like the Taylor Swift song. You know how that song is like, you're never, ever, ever getting back together. You're never, ever, ever going back on the Real Housewives in New Jersey. That's pretty strong. Because again, I think that there's probably going to be something in Louis and Teresa's contract because David, already knowing how producers are, he followed up with saying there's no way in 6 years they're not going to go to Melissa and say, okay, we want you to come back now. Like that's not going to happen. Once she's done because that's what producers do. They're always looking to bring somebody to just mess everything up out of nowhere. You know what I mean? So producers have to keep drama going too, right? But at the same time, is there a way to do that without attacking people? Right? Because it almost we complain about how in Beverly Hills and New Jersey, we are not getting a lot of any of the other women. We kind of get them just attacking on one woman constantly the entire season. And then the next season, we'll move on to somebody else. And they do it as a reflection to keep the camera and the public out of their own personal mishaps because things are probably not amazing behind closed doors. So that's a lot of pressure to film around your kids when you're not getting along with your spouse. And I give kudos to Drew Sidor and her husband because they filmed the entire season. And when cameras went down, they filed for divorce, honey, like 3 days later. And you know what Bravo did? They was like, not today. Not today, alimony. Not today, child support. We're coming back down there and pick back up on filming. You ain't catching us again. Allegedly, Shannon Medore's husband, or not husband, boyfriend, John, doing the same thing. What is it with these guys? Is it the guys? Is it the women? Do they collectively come to this decision that they're going to fake it for the cameras and then break up once filming's over? Please help me understand that, guys. Let me know in your comments what you think about that because I can't really fully understand it, right? Like, I would just be like, we're broke up. You can't film with him because he was my plus one. Like, I don't know. If I ever filmed with a boyfriend, I would have a contract that was like, you can't film without me ever. Because look at what happened to Dolores. And I said this was going to happen. If you go back and watch my old Real Housewives of New Jersey videos, I often mention the issue that was going to come when Dolores had like a man, because Frank started out as her plus one because David was always working and they were always giving her a hard time about not having a date. And Frank was like one of the guys. And so that's how he got into filming, and people started to like him, and he got a good, what's the word? He got a good response from Bravo fans. So Bravo continued to bring him. And I said, what's going to happen when she gets a boyfriend that wants to film? Then what? So Bravo was like, okay, well, then we'll give him his own contract. Yeah, but what about her? Now she's got to see her ex husband everywhere she goes, every filming event. She's got to go with her boyfriend and hang out with her ex husband too. I mean, that's okay for like married folks when you're married down the line, like, and you hang out with your exes, but like when you're newly, freshly dating someone and you're like, youthful, but still in your 40s and 50s, you don't want to be around your ex with your new. I don't think so. And so I feel bad for her. I wish that I would be. And again, where's Bravo? Why doesn't Bravo just cut the ties? Like, okay, Frank, sorry, but your role here is done because, but I think that Joe Gorga, again, I told you guys that he very much so, I think, blamed Louis and this alleged smear campaign for the reason that their 3-letter network house husbands deal was canceled. But in reality, the reason it was canceled, allegedly, was because of BravoCon and what transpired between Melissa and Jennifer and Joe Gorga. If you guys remember the F word, I think he called her the C word. It was across a lobby at a really nice hotel in New York City at the Yance Award. Um, it was atrocious and embarrassing. And Joe didn't want the men to be mad at him. So he had to deflect and say that because if Louis was running okay, say Louis had the information to run a smear can, what's he saying about Joe B? Nothing. What's he saying about Frank? Nothing. Frank's making himself look bad, filming with Joe Gorga in May of 2021, talking shit about Louis, and then coming to the reunion and saying he has no idea what Joe Gorga is talking about. And Dolores just shuts it all the way down. And then, boom, we've got this clip from him. He probably didn't think that was going to make the edit, or back then and like that in those 6 months. I don't know. I think Joe Gorga probably talked him into it and was like, look, you're my friend. There was a couple of days where Louis didn't call Frankie back and he didn't know what was going on, so we're going to take that and we're going to put it on camera because right now, buddy, this is do or die for me. Like, I'm sure that Frank and Joe B know that Joe G and Melissa are I'm just saying. Like, I'm sure that everyone knows there's got to be some tension in their relationship after this entire season. And another disappointing thing by Bravo, they didn't even touch on the rumor. They didn't touch on where were you when this alleged, like, what time of year was this alleged took place? Who was allegedly there? Oh, your publicist, Margaret and Melissa share a publicist. I don't know if they get like a deal, but he's the one that allegedly saw the whatever was happening and told Margaret, allegedly. So it's like, why? No questions were asked about it. The only question was, do you girls believe it? Well, what do you mean? Why don't you give us the evidence and let viewers decide if we believe her? Because isn't it us that kind of matters? Like what viewers know too. That's why I know that this is why I appreciate that Danielle did not flip out or let those other women make her feel like she was set up. If she wouldn't have came out with that and told Melissa, they could have cut everything about that out of the whole season. And thus they do that, there would really be no storyline for us. Nothing, right? At all. And so it had to be said on camera to Melissa. It had to be. And Danielle's integrity and her producer, even Kim D said she probably got a tap on the shoulder. Like, you know what time it is. And I don't even think that she's mad about it, because she knows that, you know what? It gave her a hella camera time. She got her name out there. Everyone knows who the F she is right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, allegedly she made 60,000 last year. A lot of the housewives say that they spend more money the first year than what they make between parties and clothes, etc. So I think that it kind of worked out good for Danielle. And she got camera time and she got a name. And you know what? She showed to Jennifer and Teresa, I'm down. I'm like, it was, I don't want to say it was an initiation, but it kind of was. Like, number one, can you handle a mission? Okay. Yes, you can. Mission. Okay. Can you sit and, you know, take one for the team and defend even if one of us is wrong? That's the thing. In this loyal triangle of Teresa, Jennifer, and Danielle, we're going to defend each other, right? Um, but still tell each other if we're dead ass wrong. But it's just funny. Teresa and Jennifer told the girls, Rachel and Danielle, take notes. Well, Rachel took notes and she's on the other couch, and it's not looking good for her. Allegedly, there was an account that was, I don't know if it was an Instagram account. It was some kind of restriction. And she was claiming it was because she had come out with some information about Rachel's husband. I'm not sure of that information. I haven't had a chance to really look into it yet. Um, Only because we don't even know if they're coming back or not. So I don't want to get too wrapped up into it. If they are coming back, well, then hell yes. But if they're not, then I just need the basics. And I think the basics are something like the name change was more to throw viewers off so they weren't able to find a felonious background. Allegations that he did and partied the same level that his son's mother did. And this was a long time ago, guys. Come on, the kid's like 15. But anyways, regardless, the commenter said basically like, you know, his family had money. This happens in situations. You get two people, lovers, they have a trauma bond, they're using drugs and alcohol, and one comes from a really great family that has money and health insurance, and one's, you know, not, and is in their church praying for their, let's say, son, and have the money to send him to rehab and take care of him while he's in rehab. And maybe he won't have to work when he does his intensive outpatient, and it won't be hard for him to get back and forth anywhere because his mom's there to take him. She'll get him to his meetings and get him to probation and get him to court and get him to his all his other meetings, right? And then say you have the female who is using, now also in these situations, because of the trauma bond and the boyfriend and the girlfriend using together, you get family members who have resentment, and instead of hurt people. So when you have a hurting mother, she says and does things that could hurt other people, right? So you may have a situation where the boyfriend has family and money to help take care of him, and that makes a tremendous difference. And then you may have the female who maybe her mom was on drugs. Maybe she don't even know who her dad is. Maybe she you know, whatever, she's on drugs too, but she doesn't have health insurance. Maybe think about before Obamacare. Before Obamacare, guys, I want to remind you of something. There wasn't an epidemic of opioids. There wasn't rehabs and houses and halfway houses and all methadone facilities. Like, they didn't have any of that. If you didn't have health insurance, you didn't go to rehab. You had to go on this show called Intervention, okay? And they would basically go and they would have these addicts and they would tell them, look, We just want to film you. We're going to block your face out. We know you need the money. We're going to pay you, but we're going to film you for a couple of days. And then eventually they would find out that it was an intervention and it was their family that was behind it. However, they would get offered these really amazing opportunities at these really amazing rehab, alcohol, and drug facilities, like in Arizona and Florida and California and Malibu, like places you could never afford, places that were going to be able to offer you, especially back in the early 2000s, um, treatment that you weren't going to be able to get somewhere else, right? So your average um, person that is dealing with an addiction issue at that time, if they are just a single entity with no children at all, they're not going to qualify for Medicaid. They're not going to qualify for any insurance at all. Okay. So that again makes it very, very difficult because you're paying out of pocket unless if you buy your own insurance every month. And these are usually the situations of women that like I work with. So let's say like hypothetically, John Fuda and his baby mama, whatever you want to call her, they're together, they're getting high together. They're both, well, she doesn't have a family to drain, but she'll hustle up money, whatever her hustle is, she'll hustle up money. He'll get money from his family. They'll do it till it gets bad, or they get caught, or they get arrested. Let's say they get caught stealing copper and they get arrested, right? Um, Homegirl, she's not gonna have anyone come bail her out. She's gonna go upstairs, she's gonna have to check in, and she's gonna wait until she goes to court. Maybe they go to jail on a Friday, right? But homeboy, his mama loves him and she can't stand the thought of her baby in jail all night long. God no, my Jesus, she had to go get a bondsman, pay him to go down there to the jail in the middle of the night and get her messed out son out of jail, right? All hypothetical. Um, and take him home. Get him an attorney. Have the attorney call the probation. Tell probation that he is on a waiting list to get into an amazing facility in a different state away. Okay. Um, this is what, and that's what would be happening, right? And so he would have no worries. He would probably stay getting high until it was time to go to rehab, and then hopefully actually go to rehab and take it seriously. But time and time again, the more help, like the girl's going to sit in jail because she has no health insurance. She's just going to sit in jail until she goes in front of the judge. The judge will either give her her own recognizance bond, which is basically like if you have a very small minor criminal misdemeanor charge, you may not have to post bond. You can just sign on your own recognizance that you're going to return on your court date. Other times they will put a bond on it. If they put a bond on it, then you have to wait till your next court date and usually put together a plea, whatever the case may be. So she's going to be in the system. She's going to be on probation. She's going to get out of jail. She's not going to have anywhere to go because he's going to be in this nice ass place that his mom's going to send him to rehab, right? Because they probably stayed with his family, hypothetically, because his family had money. So now she has nowhere to go. She's alone. She doesn't have like any sort of resources for rehab because she has no insurance because it's the early 2000s. She can't go to, a hospital to help with that sort of thing. The her only thing would be like a mental health um hold or something along the lines. Because what if it's winter? Where's she going to sleep? Maybe she goes back to the drug dealer's house because at least it's a warm bed. Not a warm bed, but a place on the floor, a couch, some kind of shelter. And she continues the cycle, except she just continues to progress and progress and progress. And meanwhile, because this is how life works, he is in a nice facility. Mom's buying him Nikes and Jordans and new clothes. And oh, her son looks so handsome. He looks so good and healthy. We're going to get his teeth fixed. And oh, yeah. Yep. And then he comes home and he is like son of the year. And, then he takes care of the kid because mom's been out using the entire time dad was in rehab. So of course CPS is going to look at that. Who's going to, at that moment, when they reunite after 9 months to a year, who's going to look like the more who can be a parent, not her, it's going to be him, right? So you could flip that either way. It doesn't necessarily have to be the boy that has the money, it could be the girl. But a lot of times you will find it's a trauma bond. Somehow you end up with like one partner who has like this amazing family or has a lot of money, and then another partner who has like their mom did drugs with them, their dad did drugs with them, they've been, around drugs their whole lives. Like those people, exist. That's real. So I'm just saying we don't know the situation with John, and it is very sad about his son's mother because um I think that especially working with mothers, and somebody, it was so moving, one of the women who works this program, like facilitator within the judicial system, said people always say like, don't they love their children? And she was like, I tell them, like, in 14 years, I've never met one mother that didn't love their children, because drugs and alcohol are so strongly take away a motherly's instinct, right? So I hope that she's able to come out of her incarceration this time around and make good decisions and get on her feet and try to build a foundation for herself. And once she's done that, she has a job and she has a car and she's working and she has a safe place, then she can initiate visitations again with her son and she can try to work on rectifying, making amends. Okay. Like when you work a program, you make amends for the things that you have wronged. And she's been gone, but that doesn't mean that they can't reunite. So that's my hopes for the situation. But allegedly, rumors coming out about him, his last name being changed because to throw off, I don't know, bloggers, I guess. I mean, to throw off Bravo. That's my question. Were you trying to throw Bravo off? Does Bravo know? Bravo that vets everyone so amazingly. I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna end up messing around with this franchise. It's not gonna be good. All right, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, turn your notifications on. Have a great Saturday.